You are silently committing spiritual suicide. Every day you murder your own soul to appease a faceless digital mob, willingly locking yourself inside an invisible prison. You are fading away, but if you dare to listen until the end, I will hand you the only key. Every single morning as the first light bleeds through the curtains, billions of us wake up and commit the exact same tragedy. Before we even take a breath, before we listen to the quiet, rhythmic beating of our own hearts, we blindly reach out in the dark for a glowing rectangle of glass. We are desperate to know what the world is thinking, terrified of the silence of our own minds. We have been thrown into a suffocating, boundless ocean of information, where relentless news feeds violently wash away the sacred quiet we need to just be. The modern human is drowning, crushed under the weight of conflicting opinions, the invisible pressures of social media, and a paralyzing, deeply authentic dread of the modern-day guillotine we call cancel culture. We are not just losing our time, we are witnessing the mass erosion of the human soul. This is a plague of our era, a terminal sickness that does not spread through the air but through the mindless hollow tapping on our screens. Myth Eryndor warmly welcomes you to a space where we dare to confront these terrifying truths together. If you find a piece of your own soul resonating in these words, please hit that subscribe button to support the channel. Your presence gives us the vital energy to continue crafting these profound journeys into the depths of the human psyche. Deep down beneath the carefully curated smiles and the perfectly filtered existence, an agonizing exhaustion has pushed us all to the absolute breaking point. I have felt it, and I know you have too. Day after day, we violently carve away at our own personalities. We slice off our rough edges and bury our most unique, divergent thoughts in the darkest corners of our minds, just so we can squeeze ourselves into a predefined, suffocating mold that society has handed to us. We are paralyzed by the fear of being left behind. We are terrified of being branded an outcast, haunted by the thought that a single word spoken against the roaring mob will turn us into a bleeding target. This ruthless herd mentality is actively robbing us of our most sacred, irreplaceable right, the right to simply be exactly who we are. I want you to stop for a single agonizing second and ask yourself, of all the fierce opinions you defend, of all the values you endlessly chase, how much is actually your independent thought, and how much is merely a hollow echo bouncing back from the faceless crowd? Are we truly living our one precious life, or are we merely acting out a cheap script written by public opinion? What I'm offering you today is not a superficial list of life hacks designed to make you feel mildly better for 5 fleeting minutes. This is a brutal, necessary psychological autopsy cutting straight through the flesh to the very root of our modern misery. The only genuine antidote for this 21st century sickness cannot be downloaded from an app store, nor is it taught in a superficial communication seminar. It has been buried since the mid-19th century, hidden within a razor-sharp immortal philosophy, the profound concept of self-reliance by the great American visionary Ralph Waldo Emerson. Today is the day you stop running. This is the journey where you finally reach down, shatter the invisible chains gripping your mind, abandon the deafening roar of the masses, and reclaim the raw, silent, and overwhelmingly powerful essence of your true self. To truly understand the profound cure Emerson offers, we must first look unflinchingly at the invisible disease of conformity that has quietly infected our every waking moment. We do not willingly walk into our own mental prisons. We are seduced into them by the desperate, very human need to belong. Emerson warned us long before the invention of the internet that society is fundamentally a joint stock company, a sinister arrangement in which the members agree, for the better securing of their own bread, to surrender the liberty and culture of the eater. Today, that bread is paid out in the currency of likes, shares, retweets, and fleeting digital validation. We have willingly traded the magnificent wild landscapes of our individual souls for the sterile safety of the herd. You can see it in the way we carefully craft our opinions, pausing before we speak, not to search for the truth, but to frantically calculate how our words will be received by the algorithm of public consensus. There is a profound tragedy unfolding in this silent surrender. When you constantly bow to the invisible pressure of the crowd, you slowly murder the very essence that makes you human. You become a ghost, haunting your own life, a mere vessel for the thoughts, anxieties, and moral panics of millions of strangers you will never meet. I have watched brilliant, fiery individuals slowly extinguish their own light simply because it was too bright, too different, too controversial for the fragile sensibilities of the modern mob. We wear masks so persistently that we forget the face beneath them. This conformity is not just a harmless social mechanism, it is a spiritual suicide. It is the insidious belief that the collective average is somehow wiser than the divine spark of the individual. But the crowd has no soul. The crowd does not weep in the dead of night. The crowd does not bleed. And the crowd will not be there to comfort you when you reach the end of your life and realize you never truly lived it. We are trading our brief miraculous existence for the cheap comfort of blending into the background. To reclaim ourselves, we must first deeply recognize the walls of this invisible prison and actively despise the comfort it offers. Escaping this suffocating theater of public performance requires us to stop desperately looking outward for validation and instead begin the terrifying descent into the uncharted depths of our own minds. Emerson boldly declared that we must trust ourselves, for every heart vibrates to that iron string. Yet in our modern age of endless distraction, that vibration has been entirely drowned out by the relentless hum of the collective consciousness. We have been conditioned to believe that genius is something reserved for the ancient philosophers, the billionaire tech innovators, or the untouchable artists. We dismiss our own intuition, our own flashes of brilliant unprompted thought, simply because they originated within us. How many times have you had a sudden profound realization only to reject it moments later, because you couldn't find an article or an influencer to back it up? We seek permission from the void to trust our own beating hearts. This is the great betrayal of the self. True genius is not about possessing a superior intellect. It is the absolute, unshakable faith in your own inner voice. It is the raw courage to believe that what is true for you in your private heart is true for all men. When you sit in silence, stripped of your devices and separated from the intoxicating drip of social media, what remains? There is a quiet, resilient force within you, a compass that knows exactly which direction your soul must travel. But listening to it requires enduring the deafening silence that we spend our entire lives trying to escape. You must learn to sit in the uncomfortable stillness of your own company and excavate the thoughts you have buried. You must become a fiercely devoted student of your own mind. It is a grueling, lonely process of stripping away the borrowed beliefs and inherited dogmas until you strike the solid bedrock of your true self. Once you touch that sacred ground, you will realize that the universe did not create you to be a redundant echo, but a totally unprecedented voice. Yet the very moment you finally decide to honor that sacred inner voice, you will inevitably collide with the deafening outrage of a world that demands your unwavering obedience. Society despises nothing more than a soul it cannot control. When you start living purely on your own terms, you will be called arrogant, inconsistent, and dangerous. In today's hyper-connected panopticon, the fear of contradicting ourselves, or worse, contradicting the current moral absolute of the day, paralyzes us into a state of permanent, fearful stagnation. We are terrified of being branded hypocrites if we change our minds, so we fiercely guard opinions we no longer even believe in. Emerson annihilated this anxiety with a single brutal strike. A foolish consistency is the hobgoblin of little minds. He understood that human growth is violent, messy, and fundamentally inconsistent. If you are truly alive, you must grant yourself the permission to evolve, to tear down the ideological monuments you built yesterday if they no longer serve your truth today. But the digital mob does not forgive evolution. It demands a static, easily categorized caricature of a human being. To step out of line to speak a truth that deeply offends the sensibilities of the crowd is to invite the modern equivalent of exile. This is the agonizing price of true freedom. You will be misunderstood, your motives will be twisted, your character assassinated, and your silence demanded. But you must ask yourself, is the shallow approval of strangers truly worth the agonizing betrayal of your own soul? To be great is to be misunderstood. Pythagoras was misunderstood, and Socrates and Jesus, and every pure and wise spirit that ever took flesh. You must look into the terrifying face of rejection and smile. Let them misinterpret you. Let them hurl their collective outrage at your walls. It is nothing more than the desperate screaming of prisoners who are enraged that you have found the key to your own cell. To willingly walk this lonely path of profound misunderstanding is not a punishment, but rather the ultimate initiation into a life of staggering, unapologetic authenticity. Self-reliance is not a mere philosophical concept you read about once and forget. It is a violent daily rebellion against a world that is actively trying to erase you. It requires an entirely new way of moving through existence. It means waking up tomorrow morning and consciously choosing not to reach for that glowing screen. It means allowing the morning quiet to wash over you, letting your own chaotic, beautiful thoughts rise rise to the surface before the world gets a chance to tell you how to feel. It is the absolute refusal to apologize for the space you take up or the unique texture of your mind. This journey is not about becoming a heartless contrarian or a bitter recluse. True self-reliance breeds a deep, unshakable compassion, because when you finally learn to respect the divinity within yourself, you cannot help but revere it in others. You stop seeing people as threats to your ideology and start seeing them as fellow travelers, struggling under the same crushing weight of conformity. We are at a critical juncture in the history of the human spirit. The digital age threatens to homogenize us into a single dull and entirely predictable data point. But the very fact that you are hearing these words, that some buried part of your soul is aching for this freedom, proves that the human spirit cannot be completely extinguished. Do not let your life be a forgotten footnote in the endless scroll of someone else's timeline. Stand up, break the invisible chains of public opinion, embrace the terrifying, magnificent isolation of your own genius, and march relentlessly forward to the beat of your own wild, untamed heart. The world does not need another compliant shadow. It desperately needs the fierce, blazing fire of who you actually are. Summary. In essence, the modern world has constructed an invisible but suffocating prison of conformity, fueled by the relentless demand for digital validation. We have traded the profound depths of our individuality for the fleeting, shallow comfort of the crowd's approval. Emerson's timeless wisdom serves as a jarring wake-up call, urging us to recognize that bowing to public consensus is nothing short of spiritual suicide. To escape this, we must embark on the terrifying but necessary journey inward, excavating our own buried thoughts and learning to trust our intuitive genius over the deafening noise of the collective. This path is not without consequence. Choosing to live fiercely on your own terms guarantees that you will be misunderstood, criticized, and perhaps even exiled by a society that fears what it cannot easily control. Yet this is the agonizing but beautiful price of true freedom. Embracing self-reliance is the ultimate daily rebellion against a world desperate to homogenize us into predictable data points. It is not about becoming a bitter contrarian, but about honoring the divine, unique spark within you. Ultimately, the world does not need more compliant echoes. It demands the blazing, unapologetic fire of your true self. Break the chains of public opinion, endure the discomfort of your own stillness, and reclaim the magnificent existence you were meant to live. Profound lesson. True freedom and greatness are inextricably linked to the willingness to be misunderstood. The ultimate betrayal is not contradicting yourself or disappointing the crowd, but abandoning your own soul's truth for the sake of social safety. Your inner voice is your only true compass, and the collective average will never be wiser than the divine spark of the individual. Practical application for modern life. The morning buffer. Start your day with 20 minutes of complete silence without reaching for a screen. Let your own unprompted thoughts and feelings rise to the surface before consuming the opinions and anxieties of the internet. Audit your stances. Before you speak, post, or agree with a popular sentiment, pause and ask yourself, do I actually believe this in my private heart? Or am I just saying it to secure the approval of my peers? Embrace inconsistency. Give yourself the grace to change your mind. If new information or a shift in your soul dictates a change, discard your old opinions without fear of being labeled a hypocrite. Practice disapproval tolerance. Take small daily actions that align with your genuine interests, but go against the grain of your social circle. Build your tolerance for not blending in. Question for you. What is one popular trend or widely accepted opinion today that you secretly disagree with but have been hesitant to speak out against? Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. Let's create a space to exchange authentic perspectives and learn from one another. If this message resonated with you, please hit the subscribe button to support the channel. Your support gives us the incredible motivation to keep creating more deep, meaningful content just for you.